back everybody to another SBO video here. Today we're going to talk about a place called Isle Royale. You might have heard Andy and I talk about Isle Royale and especially a couple of our last videos. We're going on a backpacking trip there here in a couple weeks. So we wanted to just kind of shoot an intro video, kind of give you a rundown of what we're doing. It's the longest consecutive backpacking trip we have ever taken. It's to one of the most remote places we've ever been to. So it's pretty technical. It requires a lot of planning and a lot of forethought. So we're gonna kind of share that with you and just kind of talk you through our upcoming trip. So Isle Royale itself is a massive island located in the middle of Lake Superior. So it's about 40 miles northwest of the UP, right in the middle of Lake Superior. The island itself is a national park, so it's Isle Royale National Park. It's about 40 miles long by 9 miles wide. It's the largest island in Lake Superior. It's like 40 miles off the coast, so you have to take a 3-hour boat ride to get there. You can also take a seaplane. There's no permanent population. You know, there's always some park rangers and some wildlife biologists on the island. And there's 2 harbors you can take boats into, one on the far east side of the island and one on the far west side of the island. We're going to take a boat into Rock Harbor, which is on the east side of the island. At those ports, they have, you know, like a general store, and that's about it. There is a hotel actually in Rock Harbor, a really nice one. That's like the only developed part of it. In prehistoric times, the island was a big copper mine, so there's lots of like old abandoned mines there. But it's pretty remote. I mean, you're several hours via helicopter from the nearest hospital. So it's definitely kind of the most remote place we've ever been to. Andy's been wanting to go here for years. He's the one who told me about it. It is the least visited national park, as you can imagine, because you take a 3-hour boat ride to get there. And it has the highest duration of stay, average duration of stay. So, for instance, the average stay at Yellowstone is like 2 hours. The average stay at Isle Royale is 4 days, and that makes total sense. So we are taking a ferry in on Friday, first Friday in September. We'll be there for 6 nights, 7 days, and taking a ferry out the following Friday. So it's kind of a technical trip. We've done 6-7 night trips with resupplies in there. There's no resupplying on Isle Royale. You can't mail yourself stuff. There's a little general store at one of the harbors. You could technically resupply a little bit there, but it's very remote. So we're gonna be putting our packs and our planning to the test here, because 7 days. I mean, 7 days that's a real deal. It gets pretty technical. So we'll shoot a couple more videos going through our gear setup and our food setup for the trip. Food's getting pretty technical, and we're bringing some really unique pieces of gear, mainly having to do with some unique things about the island. So one cool thing about this island is it's a really big fishing mecca. So because it's a national park, you actually don't need a fishing license to fish on the lakes that are on this island. So the island's so big that there are like 6 or 7 huge lakes on the island that are filled with pike, with walleye, lots of game fish, lots of tasty fish. So we're bringing full fishing setups, and we'll go over that maybe in a separate video. I'm not sure. Andy's getting pretty into the fishing aspect of it, and that alone is pretty technical. But we're coming in on a Friday. We are hiking basically along this trail called the Greenstone Ridge. So in the middle of the island, there's this really long trail that kind of runs along the whole island called the Greenstone Ridge, and there's shoot-offs going all around the island. So we're gonna stick to that Greenstone Ridge. There are like 20 designated campgrounds at Isle Royale. So because it's a national park, you have to stay at designated campgrounds. And the campgrounds are actually pretty cool. A lot of them have like built shelters, like wooden, like A-frame style shelters. We'll be in our hammocks, so obviously we don't care about that. But you have to kind of tell them ahead of time, all right, I expect to be here maybe in this day. You don't have to tell them exactly what you're gonna do. You know, we're starting at Rock Harbor. We're gonna head west. We have a rough idea of what we're gonna do and the places that we're gonna see, but it's probably gonna change. We're gonna try and maximize our time around inland lakes to do fishing, and then so we're either gonna be on a lake or the coast the entire time. So we're just gonna head west on the Greenstone, hit places like Chippewa Harbor, Lake DeSoar, Siskiwit Lake. There's all these lakes, and just kind of play it by ear, probably for the couple days leading up to Isle Royale. Another kind of unique thing about Isle Royale is you can't have campfires just wherever you want. You can't even have campfires at most of the campgrounds. They're really tight about that stuff. So in our last video, we kind of tested a new fish cooking setup. That was kind of a failure. But we're not going to always have fire, so cooking fish might get a little weird. We're thinking now about bringing a wood burning stove, but you know, it's just one of the kind of unique things about Isle Royale. Another really unique thing about Isle Royale, and it's something that the island's kind of famous for, is its moose and wolf populations. So it actually has a thriving moose population. The wolf population is dying off a little bit due to inbreeding, and they're just basically in the winter there would be a land bridge that formed along the ice and wolves would come across it, but that hasn't been happening. But there are tons of moose. I mean, like thousands of moose on this island. There are no bears, there are no deer, which is interesting. So there's no Lyme disease on the island. There's lots of foxes, there's loons, there's beavers, but the island is famous for moose and to a lesser extent wolves, but there aren't that many wolves lately. So that's just kind of a brief overview of our trip. We're driving up from Ohio to a place called Copper Harbor, Michigan. That's about a 12-hour drive, and then the next morning from Copper Harbor we're taking a 3-hour 40-mile ferry ride from Copper Harbor to Rock Harbor in Isle Royale, and then for the next 7 days we're gonna hike, basically do a big circular out and back, using the Greenstone Ridge kind of as our main base trail, but attempting to maximize our time around the inland lakes and then on the coast. We'll do a separate video on our gear and a separate video on our food. Some unique things about the gear are the fishing setup. We're bringing a wood burning stove, some other kind of small things. For the food, we are we're dehydrating most of our food. You can't pack out your trash, so taking food gets a little bit more technical because we're trying to reduce the amount of trash we take, the amount of bags we take, because you have to hike all that out. And 7 days of bags and trash gets pretty heavy. But we'll do another video on that. So thanks for watching. This was just a brief overview of the trip. If any of you guys have been to Isle Royale and have any insight to our trip, you know, we've been looking at the Isle Royale forums, which is a really good resource. But other than that, we've never, you know, we've talked to very few people that have been there. So if you guys have any insight or anything like that, leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and pay attention. We'll be releasing a gear video and a food video coming up shortly. Thanks for tuning in.